What's up, my Wizards? Dev, SBMTG, down there, bottom of your screen there. We do magic stuff on YouTube. Case in point, here's some magic stuff. We're doing the top 20 Shadows over Innistrad cards today, and I don't usually do like a top list when the set comes out, but I feel like this is a really powerful set, and I want to talk about some cards that I like, right? So, I don't want to do just a boring top 10. This is, again, a lot of really good, powerful cards in the set, so let's talk about all the good stuff. Got an honorable mention, I always do, because there's a lot of good cards I want to talk about. I'm going to shove as many in here as I possibly can. My honorable mention is Epiphany at the Drownyard, which is actually a very good card, I would imagine. I just haven't played with it yet. Like, it still has to prove itself to me, I guess, which is a pretty pretentious thing to say. I like that it's X+1. That's pretty cool. I love how scalable it is. I love that. Like, a big one looks like it would probably be really good. And dumping cards in your graveyard isn't bad. It's pretty. You can manipulate that pretty easily. You get some of the stuff you want, and then stuff goes to your graveyard. Do things with. It's entirely possible to set up like pretty profitable plays with the thing. But I just haven't played with it yet, and I want to see how good it actually is. In the comments, let me know if you played with it or if you're just like excited to play with it. Because I think that it probably deserves a spot higher on the list. But I'm still pretty skeptical until I actually see like what it really does. Because everyone wants us to replace Dig Through Time, but it probably doesn't. I think we're all spoiled on Dig Through Time, and we look at this and we're like, nah, But it probably is actually a pretty darn good card. Let's go ahead and actually start the list though. And my first entry in the list is the only thing that's split between two cards. And I feel like they're both representative of the same deck. And they're good cards for different reasons, but I want to talk about them both at the same time. It's the only entry I do that with, though, so I'm not going to cheat too much. The number 20 entry on the list, I was going to say card, but cards, I guess, are Heir of Falkenrath and Falkenrath Gorger. Just the key pieces in the vampire aggro deck. They're both like extremely fast, and you got to talk about Gorger because he is a red 1-drop that has 2 power and no downside. In fact, has a really good upside. So you don't really see that every day. Like we've come a long way from Jackal is all I'm saying. It's a great card for the vampires deck, and just really a decent card by itself. As far as Heir of Falkenrath goes, it's like this could almost see like modern play. I'm not like super serious, but I'm a little serial about that. Just Heir of Falkenrath is like super duper fast. By turn 3, you've got a 3/2 flyer that can attack, and that is pretty stupid. Number 19 on my list is To the Slaughter. I just feel like this is going to be definite no matter what sideboard played. I probably has a 1 or 2 of at least. And like Esper control builds, maybe even the Grixis control people are talking about being a thing. It's not just me, they're actual people. Talking about Grixis being a thing. But yeah, this doesn't replace Crackling Doom or anything. It's just like, Epiphany doesn't replace Dig. This doesn't replace Crackling Doom, but it still is a thing that helps us kill our Jutais. That's kind of important for the next few months. In this standard, I kind of really like when Delirium is online. It becomes a 2-for-1. That's what you really got to point out. Is this card becomes a 2-for-1 when Delirium is online, and there's really nothing better than that, especially when you're getting rid of 2 pretty important things. My number 18 is Sin Prager, and it's pretty low, on the list overall, because again, it sort of has to prove itself to me. I've played a little bit of this in Jun, so I have played a game or 2 with it, because I'm building Jun for the channel. And it does feel good, but I don't like giving the agency to my opponent. That kind of sucks, But at the same time, it's a rough decision for them, unless the card's a land, in which case they universally make you discard. That's another one of those where it remains to be seen. We don't know if it's going to be like amazing, or if it's going to be like really not important at all. So it's a really tough call to make, but I do think it deserves mention because it definitely looks powerful if nothing else. And 3/2 Menace Body is fine too. So at least bring it up. Good card. My number 17 is Olivia Mobilized for War, which geez, hey buddy. Olivia just really powerful in the 1 black-red aggro deck, but really doesn't. She's not going to have too much function outside of that, And when I play with Olivia, there was a problem in that like you run out of cards really fast, and we're trying to play aggro, and it just comes to a point where like you can't keep up with this. Play a creature and discard a card every turn, and even if you're you're using Madness when you discard the card, it's not sustainable. Is my issue with it. So Olivia pretty powerful, good stats for the mana cost, and does a lot of good things. But I just think will probably not be as important a month from now as people think it's going to be. But still worthy of consideration because the Black-Red Vampires deck is going to be at least important at F&M. I don't know how competitive the deck actually is, but it looks like Wizards has tried to make it competitive. So we'll see. Time will tell. But Olivia definitely like one of the more important pieces in that. My number 16 is Anguished Unmaking, which is a straight up replacement for a card from KTK that's rotating. This is a replacement for Utter End. You know, it's still instant speed, exile a guy, but in this case, it costs 1 less mana, and you pay 3 life for that mana that you don't have to pay. This is also obviously comparable to Vindicate, except it's instant speed, but you pay for the speed of it with 3 life. I think it's worth it though, but you know, just like Utter End, people aren't going to play a million copies of these in a deck. You really can't play 4, because you're going to lose 12 life to 4 copies over the course of the game. But obviously you're not going to play all 4 copies over the course of a game, usually. But still, it's a pretty high price to pay, even in colors that play like Ailey and Sorin, and a bunch of other things that gain life, Kalatas, Shambling Vent. It's just really hard to keep up with 3 life lost on 4 of your cards. So I'm not really sure if it's going to see, all the play, but I do think the decks that play these colors will probably run at least the 1 or 2 of them. So, and things that, exiling and permanent is crazy. So yeah, people will play it, guaranteed. My number 15 is Sigarda, and it's like really, really close to Anguished Unmaking. I could almost flip those 2 on the list, but I've gone with Sigarda because she does a lot of interesting things. I really wish that she herself had hexproof, like last time. Remember that? That was nice. She herself not having hexproof is kind of okay, considering that first of all, she's obviously great in the humans deck, but I think this is kind of good even outside of humans. I don't know how much play it's going to see outside of humans, or even how important humans is going to be, but it's definitely going to be a deck at your FNM. Maybe not in top 8s, Grand Prix, even Star City Opens or anything, but at your FNM, this deck will exist. But even outside of humans, it's sort of interesting in Aristocrats. It's got that last ability there is actually really, really intriguing. And it's a 4-power flyer that gives you hexproof, which might be good out of the sideboard in certain builds. So I think that's a pretty flexible card, not just only good in humans, but in humans it's obviously bomb. Number 14 is Diregraf Colossus. Speaking of cards that are really versatile, this is a completely different card depending on what phase of the game you play it in, Play it early and you might get a bunch of zombies. Play it late, it's probably going to be huge, It only costs 3 mana. So card does like pretty cool stuff, and it's probably going to go in zombies in modern. People are already talking about that. So it's going to affect multiple formats. I think it's really, really good in Commander Zoms. So there's that to consider. But in Standard, it also looks good there. So again, just like humans, I don't know if Blue Black Zombies is going to be like a real deck, but it looks maybe more viable than humans at least. We're getting a Wrestler, Relentless Dead, and a couple of other things. We'll get to all that later. Definitely. But, yeah, this is a pretty fine zombie that's going to maybe not affect multiple formats, but at least try and see play in multiple formats. Number 13 is Asylum Visitor. I played with this card too, and this card is really good. I don't have too much else to say about it. It's not Dark Confident, it's not Bob, but it's not like Blood Scrivener either. It's a pretty good card. In that you can engineer it to where you draw the extra card on your turn, kind of a lot. Now it's harder to draw the extra card on their turn, definitely. But that, I'm not worried about it. We can just draw 1 extra card a turn cycle. I feel like the card is good enough right there. And we need good cards with Madness, and this is maybe the best card with Madness in the format. It's like in the top 2 or 3 cards with Madness in the entire format. So definitely deserves a spot. I want to talk about 12 and 11 at the same time, because I think they're interchangeable and they're both Planeswalkers, yeah, all the way up at number 12 and 11. So let's just say that 12 and 11, those slots are taken up by Jace and Nahiri, and I feel like they're mostly interchangeable because they have pros and cons, Nahiri does cost 1 less than Jace, but you have to split it between 2 colors, which is actually kind of, a little bit of a barrier. And her second ability exiles things, whereas Jace's just bounces things. I like exiling things, I like exiling enchantments and artifacts, tapped artifacts and tapped creatures too. Whereas Jace only bounces creatures, but bouncing things is sometimes beneficial to you. You can bounce your own creatures and play them again, sort of yo-yo style, and get into the battlefield triggers. Or you can bounce their threats too. Obviously, that's what it's mostly for. As far as their first abilities go, Jace's is just like far, far better. I like Nahiri's first ability in the format with Madness, but I don't know how much white you're going to be playing in a Madness format, in Madness decks. So I don't know how that is going to work. But Jace's plus 1 is absolutely ridiculous. I love that Nahiri's first ability is a +2, and that's great. You get to her ultimate much faster, but a turn faster, really. But Jace's plus 1 is just like maybe the best ability on the card. It's just really, really good that you scry first and then draw. But I think that Nahiri probably wins the second ability war, and Jace crushes the first ability war. Meanwhile, though, Jace costs an extra mana, but is all 1 color. So it's just, there's a lot of different pros and cons, and I feel like they're mostly interchangeable. Number 10 is Westvale Abbey. Surprised to see it all the way up here on the list. I would have been like a week or so ago, but I've played with this card in a couple of decks now. And I'm here to say, man, this card is real. We've got a lot of different ways of making tokens right now. You know, Gideon is a really popular way of making tokens. Nissa, a not as popular way, but Oath of Gideon also makes tokens. This thing itself, the land itself, obviously makes tokens. And most importantly, I think, Secure the Wastes makes tokens and is actually really, really good with this land. When you flip it, you know, when you transform it, it's just freaking unstoppable, and it has lifelink, so just like one swing with it, with haste, by the way, is gonna win. Like, it's gonna put you, you know, that's an 18-point life swing. It's indestructible. I mean, just like, the card is actually good, and it's not that hard to get 5 guys. It's completely colorless, so any deck can play it. I like that Eldrazi decks can play it too, because it you know, helps you play Eldrazi and their, you know, their onboard abilities and their cast abilities and stuff. Jesus, that was weird. Number 9 is Traverse the Ulvenwald, which I haven't played with yet, but I still think will make a pretty huge splash. Modern players are really talking about this card, because note, and I said this in the spoilers, but I have to point it out again here, that once you do have Delirium online, it drops the basic from the land tutor. You know, you get to search up any single land in your deck for just the 1 green mana, or any creature in your deck for just the 1 green mana. That's still pretty gosh darn relevant right there. But even just for the 1 mana, I want to reiterate this. I said this in the spoiler video too, but I feel like this is really important. This allows you to keep 1 or 2 land hands, because if you have a green source in your hand that you can play on turn 1 or 2, then you'll be able to search up another basic land and go from there. It allows you to keep land or hands that have, you know, a lot of good cards in them, but not much land. You know, as long as you have a green source, you're probably good to go. So that's just another reason to play the card. My number 8 is Handlands, or just Shadowlands. Somebody suggested that too. It just sounds awesome. Shadowlands does. But I actually think that these are really, really important and will shape the sort of standard and what we can do in standard for the next year here. This makes 3-color decks possible. I've had a couple people in the comments be like, so are we really going to do 3 colors? I think so. You know, I've played with a couple of 3-color decks. Esper I've played with, Jund I've been playing with, and it all feels fairly natural. You know, the synergy these have with battle lands is amazing. You know, turn 1 you can reveal a battle land of, you know, of light colors, and then play this untapped on turn 1. That's amazing. And I also want to point out that these work with shock lands. They work with like the old school duels as well. You know, so, and older formats really focus on what you can do in the first few turns, which is when these are the most relevant. So these might actually, maybe, but probably not, but maybe. I just feel like, especially in Standard, these lands are going to make it to where we can still safely play 3 colors. And everyone's like, the fetches are going out of Standard, that means we can't play 3 anymore. Like, no, that just means that you can't play 4 and 5 colors anymore, like everyone's doing now. A lot of people are playing 4-color decks in the current Standard. But you can still play 3 colors fairly easily with what we're going to have. So it's on. And I'm going to put these pretty high up on the list because it is on. My number 7 is Sorin, Grim Nemesis. And honestly, Handlands could be like number 1. Like Handlands, you can exchange with a lot of things on this list because lands are really important. But Sorin is just going to be very good in specific decks. I do think he's really, really good in that Esper Control that I made the other day. I just love seeing this guy. He's going to be good in maybe a couple other things on Black-White Eldrazi. People are talking about him. His Black-White Control in general. People are talking about him. And every time this card hits the board, it's just absolutely ridiculous. You know? Draw a card and deal some damage is really good. Like, you can just +1 him forever and end up winning the game if you can sustain him. If you can keep him on the battlefield and stay alive. His negative X is crazy, and nobody's talking about it. Like, get right back in the game by killing one of their biggest threats and gaining a bunch of life back. It's actually like super dope, and you'll like 9 times out of 10 keep the sword on the battlefield, even if you kill their biggest guy. People are playing Chandra Flamecaller. Like, people are really coming around to that card in the current Standard, and you know, I think that's opening people's eyes to 6-mana Planeswalkers, and this could definitely see play because I actually think it's better than Chandra. Number 6 is the Gitrog Monster. I would probably speculate on this. $8. I mean, this could go down. I mean, it could be like a total, you know, junk rare and like nobody ever does anything with it. But I think the likelihood is much higher that somebody figures out how to break this. I mean, it's got like 3 different abilities on it, you know. It's got just Death Touch slapped on there. It's a 5-mana 6/6. Just, it's a mythic. Everything about the card screams play me and break me. So, and there's a lot of different ways of doing it. You know, we've got cards that, lands that come back to our hand from our graveyard in Standard. We've got a lot of different tricks with this in Modern. You know, fetch lands now draw you a card. That's just ridiculous in and of itself. It's a ramp piece, that's pretty cool. Works with things like Crucible of Worlds, you know, and works really well with like Wasteland, you know, kill your land, draw cards. Just too many tricks for this not to be real. My number 5 is Prized Amalgam because it just, a lot of modern players are talking about this thing, you know, and a lot of times a card's like, you know, what people are speculating on a card doing in modern really drives the price of the card. But this card has stayed like relatively low, and I might speculate on it, you know. It could be a total miss and just could be bad, but I'm not really seeing that, especially in modern where we have like a lot of good zombies, and even in standard we'll have things that make this work pretty well, you know. Liliana, the next card I'm going to talk about. So just extra value is good, and sure, once it hits the battlefield it's just a vanilla 3/3, but just the fact that this is like Death Miss Raptory and that like it's going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back means that it's probably pretty relevant. Number 4 is Relentless Dead, and this card is so serious. This is the thing I was talking about a second ago when I was like, works well with this. Obviously Amalgam works really well with this because you can get, you know, something back from your graveyard with that last ability there, the X ability. And Amalgam will also come back into play. That's pretty good right there. Even outside of the context of blue-black zombies, you know, I've played this in Black-White Sacrifice. This continually impresses me. It's very, very good with, I really like Fleshback Marauder in this, but it's also good with a couple of other zombies, you know. It's just, card is fan-freaking-tastic, and it's maybe also modern playable, but some people are saying too slow. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I really like a lot about the card. Not only can it recur itself, which is dope, but it can also recur your other zombies, which is amazing, you know. So just have loved every second that I played with the card in Black-White Sacrifice. And maybe I'm misjudging it just because I've already played with it in a very specific deck that it's tailored towards. But I just feel like, you know, in any sort of synergistic build, whether it's blue-black zombies, Black-White Sack, or any other thing you want to build that manipulates the graveyard, this, or, you know, if it wants to sacrifice creatures, this is the card. Number 3 is Archangel Avacyn, another thing that I played with in Black-White Sacrifice. And this card I can also testify to being really good. Testify, she's an angel. I didn't even think about it. Anyway, super dumb joke. But spur of the moment. But Archangel Avacyn is just like one of the cards that you look at and you can immediately tell that this is incredibly freaking powerful. And in gameplay situations, it always proved to be. Even if you're just playing this at the end of your turn, you know, into their turn as a 4/4 flying vigilance flash, like that's good in and of itself, but that's as bad as the card will ever be. That is the worst thing you can do with the card, is play it 4 flash at the end of your opponent's turn. That's it. So, you know, it's a sort of control finisher. In that way, when played at its worst, it's a control finisher. When played at its best, it gives all your dudes indestructible during their or your combat step. That's great, and you also get a huge angel during their combat step, you know. If you haven't blocked yet, you can always flash this in and then declare blocks, you know, with indestructible creatures. So it's just like, that's just, Avacyn is so freaking dumb. And when she does transform, she basically just like radiant flames everything on the battlefield, and often will be the only thing left. Even like a little bit later in the game, she'll sometimes be the only thing left on the field. And often, you know, even if she's not the only thing left, she'll be the best creature left on the battlefield, you know. So just, card is so freaking serious, you guys, and it's worth that $25 price tag. I think it'll probably go, you know, either $5 above or $5 below that $25 tag, but it probably won't move too much from there. I want to babble on about Avacyn, but I can't. I don't have all the time. But there's so much about this card that's amazing. Just the fact that it's basically a combat trick is ridiculous. The fact that it's a 4 mana or 5 mana 4/4 flash, flying, vigilance, all those abilities is great. Flash on this thing is dumb. Like, it's just, and it transforms. It doesn't even have to do that. It doesn't have to transform to be a good card, and yet it does, and usually kills all the small fries on the board, really good against tokens decks, by the way, and becomes definitely the biggest creature on the board, so it's just like, why does this card even exist? Speaking of things that are like too powerful to exist, this Thing in the Ice right here, and a lot of people really, really like this card. A lot of people are like, why is this good? Because it's amazing. I played with this card a good bit at this point, and Thing in the Ice is like, seriously the cheese. Like, this is the one, you guys. Early game, it's a great wall, you know, good blocker against aggro decks and even some mid-range decks. Good blocker, all in all. And when it does transform, it pops every non-horror back to their hand. I don't know about you guys, but horror's not like super popular creature type. Even in this set, I don't think many people are going to be playing like horrors. There's not that many good ones. It pops everything back to, you know, owner's hands, and it's a 7 power flyer. Like, that's so ridiculous. And in modern, this is going to, you know, transform pretty freaking early with things like Fetch Lands and Thought Scour, Gitaxian Probe, and a bunch of other stuff in the format. This is going to flip pretty earlier, flip very early. So card looks pretty freaking stupid. I mean, gameplay has been good so far, even in Standard. In the tempo shell that I played it in, it can flip on like turn 5 or 6 and just be crazy. It's like a bunch of cards for control all at one time. It's an early game blocker. Control wants that. It's a finisher. Control wants that. It's a board wipe. Control wants that. So the card is really good. And my number one, which you've guessed at this point because I haven't brought her up, is Arlen Kord. People are so hyped for this in Standard, and I just got done playing it in Werewolves, in which it is definitely the most powerful card, far and away. Just every time Arlen Kord comes down, you feel like a beast, which is why I ended up playing. You feel like a beast. That was another dumb spur of the moment pun. But seriously, that's why I played 4 of these in that deck. I feel a lot of people are like, you could drop it at 3. And I feel like you could safely drop it at 3, but she has a fairly low starting loyalty and a huge target on her back, so, and you want to draw her as reliably as possible. So I played all 4 copies. And just because it's so freaking powerful, I call this 5 spells in 1. If you do the math, it's really 6 spells in 1, It's make one of your guys a little bit bigger. And that ability is really, really good, by the way. The first ability on a normal mode. And then her 0, make a wolf. That's obviously good. The, buff to your entire team plus trample is obviously very good. She can either hit a creature and kill it, or hit the face for 3 damage. Or her ultimate is just basically win the game. Just win the game, more or less. So just everything the card does is crazy. Like, it's so crazy. And the only barrier here is her starting loyalty, but that's totally fine. Like, she protects herself in a couple of different ways, and I think fairly well. And she'll go in shells that have the creatures to block for her and stuff. Arlinn Kord is super crazy and makes things like Werewolves possible, makes Jund possible, could even make Temur possible, and maybe even Naya. I mean, just anything that plays green and red, like, you want to play this card because it just feels so... It feels OP once it hits the battlefield. It really does. And like flipping from form to form feels like prohibitive. It's not, because each form does something you want it to do, It's not like you really limit your choice too much when it transforms, because there's something on either side that you want to do. Just overall, maybe it's just because I just got done playing with her, but Arlinn Kord is just like, she feels like so powerful once she's on the battlefield for you. So, and yeah, she'll get stomped sometimes because her starting loyalty is so low. But again, she's in the colors that are good for protecting her. So, just Arlinn Kord, I'm telling you guys, is going to be a very important card. This is normally where I say, like, that's all I got for now, but I've actually got a little extra, like, breakdown here for you. This is the breakdown of all the colors in every card that appeared on this list. There are 22 cards in all that appeared, because Falkenrath, Gorger, and Heir. Falkenrath share a slot, and I had an honorable mention. But you'll see here that green and white really didn't get much as far as I'm concerned.
Let me clear my
out of this set, didn't get too many great pieces. Red got a couple of things, as did lands, but I think lands got more important cards than red did, definitely. Blue fared at least okay. Got 3 things. That's as good as you can hope to do. And then black, because we're in Innistrad, got a lot. 5 different things that I think are really, really good. And then multicolored that's interesting too. Not as many cards as we lost out of Khans of Tarkir, definitely. But still, multicolored cards will be a presence in the format, because all the multicolored cards are very good that are on this list. So multicolored is still a thing. But mostly, black won the day, and then blue also did pretty well. Alright, that's all I got for now. Deck tech coming up next couple of days here. I think I'm going to take a day off tomorrow and test and work some things out. And then the next day I'll have Jund up for you. I know a lot of people are excited for that. If you enjoyed this content, just hit the thumbs up button and do all the YouTube stuff. Share and comment. Nobody shares, but do it. Comment, let me know how you felt about this list and sort of what you'd change. If I missed anything dramatic, tell me that. And then subscribe if you're new. That'd be awesome if you did that too. I'm Dev from SBMTG. As always, thanks for watching, my wizards.